Hello everyone, and I decided I'd go ahead and just tell another short tale because I don't want to exhaust you all with another, really long tale. So tonight, I wanted to tell you all a story that begins as all good fairy tales should begin. With once upon a time, there was this farmer who was having his 13th son, and he was looking for someone to be the boy's godfather. So he went on a walk down the road, and eventually he came across this man who was actually God. And God promised the boy good health and happiness. But the farmer refused when he found out that the man was actually God, because he believed that God condoned poverty. He continued down the road until he came across a man who was actually the devil. And the devil promised the boy riches and all the world's joys, but again the farmer refused when he discovered the man was actually the devil, believing that the devil was the wickedness of mankind. He continued down the road until he came across a man who was actually Death. And when the farmer discovered this man was actually Death, he finally agreed to give Death the boy as his godson, saying that Death was fair to all mankind. Well, many years passed, and the boy grew up, and Death decided to make the boy a famous physician. So he took him out into the forest, and he told him, "These herbs here will heal anyone, but I must be standing at the head of the person. If I am standing at the feet of the person, you may not administrate the herbs, as they will do no good." So, the boy agreed, and just as Death predicted, he did indeed become a famous physician, was known throughout the world, and had great wealth. Well, one day there was this king who was sick, and the physician saw that Death was at his feet. But, he decided to play a little trick on Death, and he turned the man around so that his head was facing Death, and then he walked into the forest, picked the herbs, and healed the king. Well, when Death discovered this, he was furious, but since it was the first time, he chose to forgive his godson. And many years passed again, and one day the physician heard about this princess who was sick. And the princess had this father who was the king, who was promising his kingdom and his daughter's hand in marriage to anyone that could heal her. So the physician went to her and found that Death was at her feet. But again, he decided to play a little trick on Death, and he turned her around so that her head was facing Death, went into the forest, picked the herbs, and sure enough, she was healed. Well, when Death discovered this, his fury was great, and he took the boy down into the caverns of Death, and led him into this room where there were all these candles lit, and Death explained, "All these candles represent a soul of mankind, and when they are extinguished, so too shall that person's soul die on the earth." Well, anyways, eventually Death took the physician to this one candle that was lit, and he told the physician that it was his own candle, the godson's own candle. And as the godson looked at it, he realized it was about to go out, and he said, "Relight it! You're my godfather, relight it!" So Death, he walked forward, and he took up the candle, and for a second the boy thought that he was going to relight it. But then suddenly Death threw it down onto the ground, and it was extinguished. And the boy fell down on the ground, finally in the hands of Death at last. As always, sweet dreams and good night.